where the Indian economy is headed, sir. And I may have a follow-up question or two, but the floor is yours, sir.
Okay. Well, let me make a brief presentation of 15 minutes on the economy, because you had said in the beginning I'll be speaking for about half an hour and then there'll be questions.
Yes.
So 15 minutes, then we'll have a break, and then we'll again come to the corruption angle.
Yeah.
So I think when I'm speaking to an audience, a general audience, not a professional economist audience, I usually give them a background to make them understand. When I say something about the current situation, what is it in the context of the background? The Indian economy, let me go really far back, for which we have modern statistics. We have statistics from 1870, not very comprehensive, but enough. There was enough, and on that basis of what was available, I had constructed and published it in my books on India-China comparisons of the picture since 1870. So what we found that in between 1870 and 1950, the growth rate of GDP was the same as the growth rate of population, which is about 1%. India is in fact quite a sick place, and the death rates were very high. And so the net population growth was just 1%, and GDP was also 1%. Now, I am not going very far back, because when you go far back, you feel terrible, because we were the most prosperous country in the world. Our GDP was the highest in the world. It was far ahead of China, and remained far ahead of China till 1750, when the looting by the people, invaders from abroad, had started emaciating Earth, and from 1100 AD we started declining. But it took till 1750 when we really came down. And then when the West moved forward with the Industrial Revolution, we were left behind, and the British made sure that the innovations that were there driving the economic growth in the West, such as locomotives, Bessemer steel plant, they were denied to India. And we didn't get it till the 21st century, till the 20th century. So India, I'm for concrete statistics we have from 1870, when they began having census, and then they began formally collecting statistics on behalf of the government. And it shows that between 1870 and 1950, when we just had got independence, the growth rate of GDP was only 1% per year, and so was the population. So between 1870 and 1950, our per capita income remained the same. There was no change in constant prices. Then after that, of course, in between, there were lots of ups and downs. For example, we had an influenza epidemic in the second decade of the 20th century, and that had a huge effect. And there were so many other disruptions, but up and down, on the average, it became 1%. Then you see, between 1950 and 1990, we followed foolishly the Soviet economic model. And why foolishly? Because the British had bled our agriculture. Why did they bleed our agriculture? Because the peasantry supported Rani Jhansi, and they nearly overthrew the British in 1857, except for some internal betrayals. Rani Jhansi couldn't win. But in the process, they decided afterwards, make sure that never again the peasantry of India will be able to stand up. So they brought in zamindari system, they extracted resources, they really reduced Indian agriculture to poverty. And so by 1950, we should have, as Mahatma Gandhi and Sardar Patel had wanted, focused on agriculture, but we did not. Instead, Nehru saw, the Soviet Union, they built these big industries and so on. But the Soviet Union, during the Tsar period, had an agricultural revolution, a huge boom. They were great producers of food grains. And so they could extract resources from agriculture and use it for their industrialization, that is Lenin and Stalin. But we could not, because there were no resources in the agriculture. And the end is that we ended up with a very poor growth rate. And because there was no looting of the British anymore, so the resources stayed in India, and we achieved a small growth rate of 3.5% per year in GDP. And there was, by then, because we had become independent, our population growth also, because the death rate started coming down due to modern medicines and so on. So we were per capita income running at about 1.5%. That is, our growth rate in population was 2%. In fact, at one stage, a little more than 2%. But anyway, on the average of that period of 1950 to 1990, we grew at 3.5% per year, which was after adopting the Soviet economic model of large industries and extracting resources from agriculture and putting it in industry, then not giving any importance to exports and imports, and all these Soviet model which failed in the Soviet Union itself. That we adopted, and we continued till 1990. In 1990, after VB Singh had made a complete mess in the 1 year that he was in power, along with the support of the BJP and communists. At that time, both the communists and BJP supported. The Chandrasekhar government came with the help of Rajiv Gandhi's support, and I was a minister, I was senior most minister at that time, because after all, without me, Chandrasekhar couldn't have been prime minister, so he had to do that. So we found ourselves facing a bankruptcy. There was no foreign exchange left, and nothing was left. And banks had been frozen by loan melas and all that. So at that time, Chandrasekhar was a socialist. He wrung his hands and said, "What do we do?" Well, fortunately, the Americans had come to us saying that the Gulf War is taking place, the first Gulf War, where Saddam Hussein had captured Kuwait. So they wanted us to help them in their war effort, which was really a United Nations effort, but the Americans were dominating that. So they wanted their planes to come from Philippines to Saudi Arabia to add to the armory that they were piling up there. And they wanted India to give them landing rights for refueling of their planes coming from Philippines. And there I then told them that it's no use you're giving us the cost of airline fuel and so on. I mean, there's a cost also that we are going to change your ideology. This will be the first time that we will be playing, we'll be accommodating the American Air Force. And so you give us $2 billion or nothing doing. Americans like that kind of negotiations, and they gave us $2 billion. And so we began recovery. But then Chandrasekhar government fell, and Narasimha Rao came. And he was convinced from day one, because his biographies now say that the first thing he did upon being invited to form the government is come to my house, pick me up and take me to his house, and then told me that you have prepared these reform papers, please give me a copy, which I gave. And he wanted me to join, but he wanted me to join the Congress party. But, I went for advice to Parmacharya. He said, no, never, Congress, never. So I had to give up being formally a member of his government. But then he was too smart, so he created a commission and made me with cabinet rank so that I could attend cabinet meetings and so on. So all of us got together. Manmohan Singh, whom I had brought for Chandrasekhar's government, became finance minister. And Montek Singh was my secretary in Commerce Ministry. He became finance secretary. And so there was a team. And Narasimha Rao was the ideal prime minister because he was a great listener. He listened, he argued, he questioned, and then ultimately implemented. He has not, I know everything, who are you? I will do this, I will do that. All this bravado which has come in recent years, Narasimha Rao had none of it. He kept each time asking, am I doing the right thing? What should I do? And he, in overnight, abolished income tax, overnight abolished licenses, quotas, and people said there will be a chaos, but nothing of the kind. The country boomed, and our growth rate went up to 8% within 5 years. And after that, 8%, 7%, and all we have been having. So this period, we performed because we changed our policy according to the need of the times. The need of the times is empower the people, and we empowered the people, and it happened. And the other subsequent, nobody went back to socialism anymore. But in that is between 91 and 97, it was big growth. Then we remained flat out till 2014 with lots of ups and downs. Then the BJP government came with Narendra Modi as the prime minister, and he was totally ad hoc. He had no economists worth the name, nor he had economists who wouldn't open their mouth. They were too frightened. And so there were no, he just a series of slogans. And these slogans have actually, if you look at the data, in my Gyan Ganga or Arth Gyan Ganga, I've produced these graphs, and maybe at a future occasion you can show it. But if you look at the government data, the Central Statistical Organization, from 2015-16, our growth rates have been falling. And before the corona, we had one quarter, and that quarter was January 1st to March 30th. In that quarter, we had come down to 3%, even below what Jawaharlal Nehru had achieved, done, you see, during the early in the 50 to 90 period. So at that time, the corona came, and the first year we dropped 24%. Now, after all the so-called heroic efforts, they have been able to recover only 20%. We are still 4% behind what we were when in March 31st, 2020. And I don't think we are going to be able to, because now we didn't cover, so that gap is now increased, and so next year we're going to have a bigger problem. So I don't see, unless there's a major change in the economic policy of the country based on correct objectives, correct priorities amongst those objectives, the strategy, specifically meet our strategy, and finally a resource mobilization plan which does not put weight on the people. Today, all the resource mobilization is at the cost of the people, and the cost of and the salary people are the most affected. So the resource mobilization, there are many methods, and I can discuss that later on. But at the moment, I'm saying we have fallen far behind China. We had caught up with China during Narasimha Rao's period, and then towards the end of his period, we had also overtaken China. But over the year after that, we went on more or less at the same time, 6%, 7%, like that during Vajpayee's period, during Sonia Gandhi, Manmohan Singh's period. But after that, the Chinese have gone ahead, largely because we are going down. So this is the situation today in the economy. How to come out of it, I think I would deal with it because I have to do the other part also on corruption. So at the moment, let me say, we are in a definite recession, and this recession is due to our demand weakness. The demand, the power of people with purchasing power has gone down, and so the demand factor has gone down. Supply is lying in inventories. If you go to any automobile store, you'll see cars and cars and cars standing, which you never used to see before. And the reason is that we have a demand problem, and we are not addressing that. Everything is supply. Even today, all this so-called, I don't know what they call it, the measures that they are taking, they're all supply oriented. And that's not the problem today. The problem is people getting money, people getting employment, and then they are going to the market and making buying. That's demand. And for that, you have to lower interest rates so that people can take loans successfully. Companies can get the cost of production down. So many things, they're all connected. This macroeconomics is a highly sophisticated subject. People talk only of microeconomics, going to a shop and bargaining with the shopkeeper. But this is microeconomics, they're all interconnected. For example, if supposing like when Raghuram Rajan was there, I had a big quarrel with him because he said, I had to control inflation, I have to raise interest rates so that the demand for money goes down and therefore the inflation will be controlled. I said, on the other hand, these poor small and medium industries, their cost of capital is going up and they'll close down. And that's what exactly happened. And finally, the Prime Minister was persuaded, after much bombarding with letters and so on, becoming extremely unpopular with the socialite crowd because somehow they were of the view that you should have a finance minister who's good looking, and they thought that he was good looking. I'm not sure, but anyway, there was a big furor, but he was sent home, and but there's no rectification of that. So consequently, today the malaise is there. How to remove that malaise, how to do it, how to grow at 10% per year. We must grow at the rate of 10% per year. Otherwise, you will not achieve any of your targets. Even some of the targets stated by Prime Minister are so juvenile. For example, he said, in 5 years, I will double GDP to $5 trillion. And everybody was doing japa on that, $5 trillion, the economy, $5 trillion. In 5 years, if you're going to double your GDP, the growth rate will be 14.8% per year. It can be easily calculated. Anybody who knows compound interest will be able to do it. So I will double agriculture product in 4 years. That's 18.8% per year. So I mean, this is just total illiteracy when it comes to economics. It's a very sad situation. But I will say, if you follow the correct policies, then you can overtake China in 10 years. And because the Chinese economy is today in such a mess that because of this communist country, so these facts don't come out. But they are in a pretty bad situation because they had banked on what? Semi-processed goods from East Asia coming to China, value added, and sent to Europe and America, and the Americans and the Europeans were buying it, and to please China, they were reducing tariff rates and so on. All that has changed, and so now they are having a problem, and this is the right time for us to move and overtake China. But how to do it and what is required, that I will deal with in a later thing. So this is the first portion of today's lecture, and you can ask me any one or two questions, then we can go on to corruption.
Thank you, sir. So one parallel, if I might draw, again, they are not the same. Indian economy and American economy are not the same. In America, during the Carter regime, the inflation had gone way out of control, and the then Fed chairman, I think it was Paul Volcker, he said that I am no longer going to control the supply of money. Instead, I'm just going to play with the interest rates. And this thing about monetary policy and fiscal policy got defined. Monetary policy is where the interbank lending rates are set, and then the fiscal policy is where the government, if it wants to increase growth, they might give some sops like, tax holiday or this or that. Now, it seems to me that that kind of has come to India, except that the independence of the body that sets the monetary policy is in question for me. Sir, maybe I think our viewers need to understand that we cannot draw a one-on-one comparison. If America does well, therefore India should also do well. Maybe you can...
Federal Reserve Board or Federal Reserve Bank, what it's called, Volcker was a professor of economics in the University of Chicago. This guy, whatever his name is, he was an officer in finance ministry, He's got a degree in history, and he's the head of the Reserve Bank. I suggested somebody like Vaidyanathan, he should be made Reserve Bank governor. But they didn't, because Vaidyanathan also has got a spine, so he can stand up to any government. There were other economists in the past, but they were all spineless. So therefore, don't compare America and India. Americans are very professional, and if you don't do, they kick you out. Here, if you're okay with the prime minister, you can make a complete mess. Nothing will happen.
Yeah, we make Rudyard Kipling's observation about India come true every day, don't we?
Which is what? Please tell the audience.
Incompetents hang around longer in India than anywhere else. That was Rudyard Kipling, the one who wrote Jungle Book, Mowgli, and all that stuff. We all loved his books, but he had a very, very, very condescending view about India. In fact, Winston Churchill was born in India. Can you believe that? And this guy had nothing but contempt.
Yes, that's right. It was easy to be contemptuous of India because we were all the time propositioning. Yes, sir. So shall I go now to the corruption, or you have any more questions?
We're going to frame the corruption thing by showing you one cartoon that P. Gurus had done right after. Hang on, just 1 second. Right after the 2G, Kanimori and Raja were let off. Viewers, please remember, this is in 2017. The date is there on the cartoon, and this tells it all, because it was Dr. Swamy who dusted off this 2G case. An official came to his house in pouring rain, explained what Mr. Raja was up to, and then this is in a sense what is happening with every corruption case that Dr. Swamy has taken up. And I too have followed up some of these things. You may have read my book, C Company. You may have read my book, National Herald Frauds. All these happen to be, documentation, very, very detailed, I must say, of how the fraud was committed during the UPA era. Dr. Swamy, I want you to take it away from here, and then we can go through, we can share some more cartoons where we were, showing how things were progressing, sir. All yours.
Well, I think, first of all, I want to say, because there were people who have tweeted to me, not now, but much earlier, that what's wrong with corruption if it greases the system? And in fact, in the 1950s, the Americans used to propagate this. Corruption is not a big issue. It greases the system and things move faster. That's not correct. Corruption is a cancer. And I'll tell you how it's a cancer, and then go on to the question you raised. First of all, you just see this. When you engage in corruption, say Bombay, building roads. So the chief minister gets a cut, and he gives he may put out a tender, but in the tender they will put in such conditions that it will go to certain who is inferior. Since he has paid a bribe, he collects it by putting inferior material. And therefore, when the road is made and the monsoon comes, it's all potholes. I mean, I couldn't understand. I represented the city of Bombay for 2 terms in Northeast, in Lok Sabha. And it was a pain in the neck to come from Nepean Road, where my mother-in-law lived in a nice house in Nepean Road. So I stayed there. And then when I came, by the time I reached Sion and Kurla, my God, the roads were horrible. Potholes and potholes and potholes. Can we not make a road? Yes, we make beautiful roads for Malaysia. We make beautiful roads for Iraq. We made beautiful roads for Nigeria. But we are not able to make beautiful roads for Bombay. And the reason is that the substandard material that is put on it, every monsoon and then another tender goes out, and then this cycle of corruption goes on. So, and the same thing with the adulteration. You pay a bribe to the inspector, and then he will look the other way, and he will put all kinds of mixtures in the food products, and people fall sick, but nobody will associate it with the corruption that has taken place. So, first point is corruption wrecks your society by giving you inferior products for a superior product for which your taxpayers' money goes. The second thing is, once the person gets a black money, what does he do? He can't invest because he'll be caught. Where do you get this money from? Income tax bill will come after everybody. So therefore, he does those things where he can't be caught. One of them is to give it to Hawala operators who take it to Dubai, and then you have a numbered account in Switzerland or some other place, Cayman Island or something like that. And he for a fee, that guy will take your rupees. He won't take it to Dubai, but he'll have his man here. And then in Dubai, he will call up somebody who will say that this man's account in such and such bank is it's a numbered account, and this is the number. Please deposit so much money. And if somebody comes from that side here, wants to offload his foreign exchange for a higher interest rate, a higher exchange rate, then this Hawala chap comes in, and with the rupees he had already got. So therefore, this money goes in to destabilize your. Why is our rupee rates 75 rupees or 74 rupees or whatever it is per dollar? I mean, the Chinese is only 6. If you look at what they call as a purchasing power parity, take every product produced in China and a similar product produced in India and take the ratio of the prices, you will find that if you take an average of all that, the exchange rate between India and United States, if you do the same thing for the United States, is not 70 rupees, but something like 30 rupees. And that is also only now. Previously, it used to be 7 rupees, 8 rupees. So, overvalued. Who is beneficiary? The guy who brings money from abroad. So, he's put it abroad, and after that, your exchange rate goes up. Then he brings it in. He makes a profit. So, this is another. So, like that, you see, rigging of stock markets, all stock markets, you know very well, you have written books on it, how it is rigged. It's all because of this black money. And so, and then finally, of course, crime, because once you get into this, there'll be crime. And somebody doesn't play ball, then he gets killed. Sridevi got killed, Sonia said this, Sunanda got killed in the IPL because of the black money issue. So, I mean, then the cinemas are made by thugs, and so the vulgarization in the cinemas I mean, it's a general. So, let me say, let us not say corruption is just somebody's got money so that he'll move the matters faster. No, it is a degradation of society takes place. And most of the empires have collapsed because of corruption. You just go back in history and see what happened to Mesopotamia, what happened to Babylon, what happened to the Greeks, everywhere, and the Italians. They're all due to corruption. So corruption is a cancer, and so it should be fought tooth and nail. Now, you have raised this question as to how do we deal with it? Why is it that I'm not able to prosecute people? Well, I couldn't say that I have not prosecuted a long time because I have to be so determined and at it. Jayalalitha, I sent her to jail. Shashikala, I sent her to jail for 5 years. Actually, Shashikala was not made an accused by me. It was this Karunanidhi mischievous character. He put her in when he came to her. And I couldn't say, no, Shashikala is innocent, but Jayalalitha is corrupt. Then people say I'm doing vendetta and all that. So I went through, and of course she had helped Jayalalitha in doing it, so she became an accomplice. So, but they did go to jail. There are others who, Chidambaram is spent 106 days in jail. He is a genuine jailbird. So it is son too. And so it's not, people make out a hopeless case. No, no, nobody is caught. Nobody is caught. That's not correct. It's a question of being, I'm telling you on National Herald because I am doing the case. I'm not allowing the government anywhere in it as far as the criminal part of the case is concerned. Yes, I gave a complaint to the Urban Development Ministry, so they got hold of that building, the Herald House, which they won with these people, the Congress people, Sonia, etc., went in appeal. They lost it in the High Court. Then they have gone to Supreme Court. In the Supreme Court, the matter is not taken up. And who is not taking it up? Our Solicitor General is not taking it up. Why is he not taking it up? I have just no idea why he's not taking it up. I have a number of times raised this question. It's not. The same thing with and honest officers have been targeted. Take that officer in Enforcement Directorate who sent Chidambaram to jail. He has been transferred out to. He's been transferred out to Lucknow. Poor chap is being so harassed that one of these days he will resign and go. So why should I put up with all this? Of course, my view is to him that if you resign, go please join BJP and clean up BJP, because if there's any party which is capable of being cleaned up because of this RSS factor being sitting outside as an umpire, we can clean up BJP. So therefore, I would say that they don't be disappointed that nobody is going to jail. Most of them everybody is like these spectators in a cricket match. Why isn't he hitting sixer? Poor this guy. We had an opening batsman, Sehwag. Everybody saying sixer, sixer, sixer. And in the end, his career was ruined, you see. So he was dropped because, once you become careless in cricket, you can be out at any time. And all this 300s and 200s used to give way to zeros and 10 and 20s. So I'm saying that the public doesn't, no public gives you any money for what you're doing. I'm doing everything in my own expense. I haven't taken a single rupee in fees. And lawyers have a cartel, and I can never tell when the two lawyers on the opposite sides get together and say, let's do this, get an adjournment, put it off. So all these are things which have to be improved over time. Let us know that India is still a democratic country. The emergency, everybody said India will never again be a democratic country. And the people who voted Mrs. Gandhi out were not the educated people of India. It was the illiterate masses of the Hindi belt who voted Mrs. Gandhi completely out. Every seat she lost, including her own in Raebareli and her sons also in Sultanpur. So, therefore, this country has that potential. And so, in order to fight, how to fight and all, I'll deal with it. Anybody wants to ask questions. But there are 5-6 simple steps by which you can remove corruption. And the officials must know that the minister is not interested in blackmailing anybody. The government, the prime minister, the home minister, they are not interested in getting people in their thing so that they can do politics with ease. And their opponents will all be slinking away inside somewhere in their houses. That missionary quality can only come if the society votes for people who fight corruption. When it comes to voting, people vote on all kinds of other things, and then the money becomes a factor. You can't have money of the type you require in a Lok Sabha election, except rare cases. I mean, I have been winning elections. Lok Sabha I won three times, and Rajya Sabha 3 times. The 3 times I went to Lok Sabha, I hardly spent anything, but I still won by record margins. So therefore, today we are in a cusp of kind. We can go down or we can come up. And this coming up would require a sense of enthusiasm. Yes, this is happening. This is delayed. Nobody's getting. Everybody's getting bail. I mean, bail is not a no. Bail is not the freedom to from the case. You are a marked person. Prima facie, you have been proved to be a criminal. It is not final because your version of what happened has not been taken, and that is in the trial stage. But the prima facie case made out, the court is satisfied that you have committed this, and therefore you have to sit in jail, but we can give you bail if you give some surety and some bonds and things like that, which is why Sonia Gandhi and others are out. And that bail can be cancelled anytime if they misbehave outside. So everything shouldn't be looked at black and white. There are shades of gray, and therefore these shades of gray, I think. I would say that Modi's government is not serious about fighting corruption, because there is a simple thing that you can do, which I told him on day one. There are $2 trillion of Indian money in bank accounts abroad. They are called, what is it called?
Tax havens. Tax havens.
Huh?
Tax havens.
Tax havens. That's right. Tax havens. 70 countries are tax havens. We know all of them. And the United Nations in 2006 decided that this is a very serious problem for every country. So they passed a resolution on corruption in money deposited abroad, saying that if any country declares that all citizens of that country who hold accounts in country A, B, C, D in banks like Switzerland or Cayman Island or Virgin Island, so on, all these accounts are hereby nationalized and become part of India or any other country. So some countries have successfully taken money. For example, Egypt wanted to take out the money of Mubarak. So they used that resolution and said all Mubarak's money in any bank in the following 70 countries where these kind of tax haven banks are there, are hereby nationalized. And then the United Nations got it all for them. Same thing happened with Gaddafi. Same thing happened with Marcos. Countries have done it. In our country, our Prime Minister is, I've written to him, I've given it to him. I don't know who's advising him, but they are refusing to do it. We have appointed, on the very first day after coming to power, we appointed some 2 senior retired judges to look into it. All they're doing is sitting in Ashoka Hotel. They have nothing to, they have no work because nothing is being referred to them. There was a play when Mr. Jaitley was finance minister. He used to say, "Listen, corruption is something that happens everywhere. We can't do anything. We're just creating bad relations and so on." But the fact of the matter is, corruption can be wiped out in India, but it requires missionary quality people in our politics. And you can get missionary quality politics only if the public uses that determination to send such people to parliament. There, you don't need the whole parliament to be full of people who can fight corruption. You just have 10 people, 15 people, that's enough, and you'll get rid of corruption. So this is what I have to say before you ask me questions.
Yes, sir. To add to your point, viewers, P. Gurus had written an extensive set of articles of the 3 countries that Dr. Swamy mentioned, Philippines, Egypt, and Libya, about how they took these measures, how their courts passed orders to get the money back. You can read about them in pgurus.com. This was something that I took about 2-3 years ago. My hope was that sometime along that India would look at the thing and say, okay, well, 3 countries, somebody has taken the trouble of putting together and establishing, laying out a track record that they can learn what not to do also, because there were some missteps that these countries did. You know what to do, you also know what not to do. And then hopefully, this would be, so anytime I say all these things, Dr. Swamy, people say you are living in an idealist world These are things that are not going to happen. But at least I can have the satisfaction I did my job. I, being outside, spent my time, my dime, and explained in as simple words as possible how money gets laundered or how this money was brought back, everything that you can think of. In this particular limited aspect, sir, I have done, in my opinion, the best possible thing that I possibly can. Because P. Gurus was very, very focused on this. We have done how many cases we have brought out, sir? INX Media, Aircel Maxis, that Chidambaram, trying to steal a comfort inn in Tirupur. All these guys will, they can. There is no limit where they want to steal. I mean, even in painting, change the logo of a bank and then give it to somebody.
Yeah, that's right.
Money for that too. Yeah.
Canara Bank.
Canara Bank. And see, the thing is, UPA completely institutionalized corruption. It's very unfortunate that, being with the right intent of, wanting to do good by the people, this Modi government has failed in both the things that we are talking about. And again, Dr. Swamy, it is not my, charter to try and only find faults at the Modi government. They have done some good things also, but that we shall talk about later. It's important because economy is now beginning to hurt people. Like, I think last week I read a news that 1.5 million jobs are no longer there when people are now getting ready to get back to work. Middle class jobs are completely gone. And this is where the problem is. The middle class layer, sometimes there's only one income earning member in the family. And when that job goes away, it is difficult for them to adjust. They don't have a small village to go back to. They have mortgages, they have EMI payments. So this demand curve, the demand side, not looking enough at the demand side, but just doing supply, it's very contrarian to what people have done across the world to fight pandemic. Everybody has printed notes. Everybody has.
One interruption. In where you live, the United States of America, at least at Trump's time, I don't know whether it's still being continued, all those who were salary earning people, they got their checks from the government to compensate because they were put out of jobs. It came in the bank and got deposited.
Absolutely, sir. This was a fantastic thing that the Trump administration did more so, and Biden is doing it. It's not that they are not doing it. At least in that particular aspect, both are united. So, sir, even small businesses, if you could prove that so much of the component of running your business went towards paying salaries, paying rents, paying all the other overheads, that got compensated 100%, sir. 100%. I mean, I'm witness to that.
No, Ramesh, who's with us in our programs, he runs a company and he was sent a check.
Yes. So every month. It helped us ride out the worst period of the COVID problem. And I mean, we are still having headwinds. I'm not saying that we are out of the wood by any stretch of imagination, but the government was there to help us. Absolutely, sir. This is where I see a problem. The SMEs have to go back to usurious interest lenders, and then that comes with its own share of problems. And I think they keep making statements, but I just don't see. Like, for example, what prevents this government from having press briefings every day, just trotting out their record data from the government? Why can't they just say, okay, we did this, we did this, we did this? I don't know why they don't do that. What is the reason to be quiet?
Because they don't know the answers to the questions.
Sir, our media is so pappu, sir. They shouldn't be calling pappu. They are the first pappus. So, anyway.
We made them.
Now, this to me is a very, because the longer you prevent all these things from happening, the longer the hockey stick is going to get pushed out more and more, and it's not going to be instantly. People can turn the thing on and go on. Unfortunately, sir, in India, there are so many different ways money has come in. Fake currency. Even the Modi government is unable to stop that. I'm hearing still stories that fake currency is coming in. And the 2,000 rupee note, new dimension, new fake currencies come out. So it is not going away. India it's like a vegetable, it's like a herbivorous dinosaur lying on its back, because that's how I see it. It's a huge animal. You have to keep poking here, poking there. Someday it will just get up and walk, but to make it to run, oh my God, that is a separate feat. And anyway, that's my frustration, sir. I hope I don't want to project it to everybody, sir. In corruption, right? Now, you've done so many different things in National Herald. Again, they keep Tariq pe Tariq. They know they are guilty. We know that, and they know they are guilty. They are not going to give you your day in court. That's what we say in United States. Somebody gets his day in the court, and they are denying that. And this way, how long do you think they can? Is there any statute of limitation?
No. As far as the accused are concerned, they have not been able to do anything in the courts. It's the government which changes the judge. So I have to start all over again. Supposing that the judge is in the most recent case, when I wanted a document which Sonia Gandhi presented to the Supreme Court in her own petition, and it was a copy was sent to me because I was a respondent. So with the stamp of the Supreme Court, everything. When I produced it in the trial court, the Sonia Gandhi's lawyer said, no, you prove that this is filed by Sonia Gandhi. I said, I'm a respondent. I get it. She filed this case. There's no doubt because the Supreme Court order is there. No, you prove it. So and the magistrate, he also said, if you are not going to prove it now, then after your cross-examination over, then we can consider it. I said, why? I want my cross-examination to be shortened because everything that they are asking me question-wise is there in her documents. So all I'll do is I'll produce the documents, and the cross-examination will be cut short, and we can go straight to framing of charges. So I went in appeal, and everything was argued, and finally the judge said, okay, 1 month from now, I'm fixing it for final arguments, and after that, I'll give the judgment. And I was going to win. And so lo and behold, there was a change of roster, and the man has been transferred out. The new judge I have to start all over again.
Viewers, don't ask Dr. Swamy or don't ask me why somebody is not going to jail. You have an MP. Those addresses, emails, phone numbers are all given to you. It's available and published. Call them up. Give them help. If 5,000 of you from your constituency write to your MP, he will have to respond. There is no way he can escape. He can't come to hometown because he knows, one of these 10 guys will catch hold of me. They'll ask me this question. Why anytime there is a problem, immediately I see a tweet. Oh, why isn't Dr. Swamy acting on it? Why? Is it his job?
Yeah, you're right.
So this mindset, we have to get off of our butt. If you can tweet something and say that, this is this, well, you can also tweet the same thing to an MP in a proper format and say that why is this being delayed? This for too long, sir. We sit in the comfort of our drawing room, watch something, and then we are just tweeting it.
It's like a spectator in the cricket match, Why is he eating a sixer?
and that is where things have to change. I think unless the population of India starts putting pressure on its politicians, things will not change. I think Dr. Swamy has shown us the way. That's the way I always see it. He has shown us the way. There are a few people now who are taking up cases at the state level also. But you, the viewer, you, the citizen, can also do your part. And if you do that, believe me, these things will start picking up momentum. There is no other alternative.
That's right.
So, with your permission, sir, let's take some questions now.
Yeah, sure.
Shri Bhatt, sir, we are hugely populated country. How can government or anyone create employment?
All right. I'll give you one example. Decide I will produce, which poor Gadkari has been pleading with the government to allow him to. We will build 8-lane highway from Delhi to Madras, from Calcutta to Bombay, from Vijayawada to Jamnagar, from Jamnagar to Guwahati. We'll build all this. What will it do? It will generate employment for the lowest classes, the so-called daily wage workers. You see, how do you finance it? Print notes. My God, you're printing notes. How will you account for it? There's nothing to account. These are printed by the government of India. So, wouldn't that cause inflation? So much money? Yes, it will cause inflation if there's a shortage of supply. But our country is suffering from oversupply. They're all lying in an inventory. So, when you put money into the people's hand, they'll go to the shop. They will start buying. The shopkeeper will be mighty happy. So therefore, don't say that how we can abolish income tax. Income tax can be abolished. The entire income tax, entire unemployment in the country can be solved within 2 years. There will be zero unemployment in our country if we do these things. And these are things which don't require any extra skill. So I can give you series of steps that can be taken by which everybody gets employment. And then, of course, the question will become that when the production takes place, there must be buyers, and that's where you come in. You start giving subsidies to buy it, and there's the whole gamut of economic measures by which this can be done. But if you don't know any economics, then I can't help you.
Next question. Why is government not creating organizations like the CPIB in Singapore? And I think this is the promotion board, industrial board. Why is government not taking any steps that justice is done in time with a target date fixed?
No, you see, we have a procedure in court. If I put a petition, I have to give it to the affected party. And then they are given time to file a counter. Then I am given time to file a counter to a counter. Then after that, there is examination of documents and this and that, establishing the document. So there is a procedure. And sometimes it can be done fast when everything is on based on documents. There's no need for witnesses. There's no need for example, 2G. I filed it in 2009, and the judgment came in 2013. What? They're not sending them to jail. The judgment that came was that the spectrum that was allocated by Raja stands cancelled. And then Raja was then sent to jail. And that took an additional 2 years. But he did go to jail. But it was all cut and dried. You see, most of the time, it's the facts of the proof depends sometimes on witnesses. And the witnesses then has to be cross-examined. And he may have, he may not be got a photographic memory. So if he makes a contradiction, his evidence goes. So our system is based on the principle that you are innocent unless proved to be guilty. It's not that you are guilty unless you prove yourselves to be innocent. So this reversal that everyone is presumed innocent unless he is proved guilty. Of course, you have an intermediate stage where Sonia and Rahul, etc., are, which is that you have been proved prima facie guilty, and now the confirmation has to come by giving them an opportunity to give their rebuttal. So these things take time. I mean, I don't think that you should want, of course, if you can have some these countries like China and Russia, they decide that somebody is guilty. They first decide who's guilty and then they give the judgment. You can't do that in a democracy.
Next question, Dr. Swamy, when it comes to economy, to revive demand, what stops the government from removing income tax? Is it the control of bureaucracy? Is there any way out from this hubris?
Now take income tax. Is there income tax on agriculture income? No. Okay. Is there the income tax that is applied in urban sector, non-agricultural sector, are the rich people in an advantage? Of course, they got chartered accountants. You have given so many exemptions. Exemption for this, exemption for that. If you spend money on research and development, exemption on that. So many things that you get exemption. So the chartered accountant prepares a big thing, and he ultimately, rich people pay very little. Poor people are below the cutoff line, so they don't pay any income tax. So what happens? The middle class is stuck with it. And there the income tax authority thinks he's lord and master. And he says, I have to go on vacation with my family and my cousins and aunts and everybody. And please buy me my air tickets and pay for the hotel bill. Otherwise, I will do this to you. Now, poor middle class guy, I've seen many middle class people suffer. And in the early days when I was not a politician and I was a professor, I had this problem where the income tax guy said I should finance his trip to Kashmir. So, and he and his family. And I said, go to hell. And I got a notice. But then by then, Mrs. Gandhi had sacked me from IIT and the RSS brought me into parliament, and this income tax guy disappeared and never saw him again. So I'm telling you that these are the reasons why why people don't want income tax to be abolished. What is their income tax? How much do you get? The agriculture sector doesn't pay. Most of the rich people don't pay. The middle class is the one who's paying. So abolish it. What will happen? That money, these people, the middle class will save. They are not going to spend it. That's their habit. Indian household rate of saving is the highest in the world. Almost 75% of the total savings in our country is by households. What percentage in China? 15%. What percentage in America? -2%. How can it be -2%? Because people are borrowing. They don't save. If they want some money, they borrow. This is America. So in our country, these poor Indians, they are so insecure. They go on saving. They have to save for their daughter's marriage. They pay dowry, blah blah. God knows. So therefore, you relax it. Similarly, on indirect taxes, now of course the GST has made it completely complicated. But I'm saying even the original indirect taxes. Out of 4,233 products when I last knew, which had excise taxes, 21 give you 90% of their revenue. Just 21. So why are you putting it on the others? Just remove it from all. The prices will come down. So there are many ways to do these things. But then you must be an economist to be able to figure all this out. You can't be just from Jawaharlal Nehru University.
This is Pavan Timmavajjala. He wants to know, Dr. Swamy, a follow-up question is for those of us youth who want to create a vibrant economy. Shouldn't there be a serious rethink on the role of state, which feeds on corruption? What is your take?
It's not a question of role of state. It's a question of market forces. If you have a transparent market system, where the information system gives you complete information, then I think you will have a very efficient economy. Why is it that Narasimha Rao's government was able to grow from 3.5% of Jawaharlal Nehru's period to 8% in just 5 years? It's because he abolished quotas, licenses, everything. And that with that the corruption went. And so investment went up automatically. And so he got it. Like that we can have many. People say, where are you going to get resources? 2G gives you more money. The auction of 2G. Now, of course, you got 3G, 4G, 5G. Maybe 6G will soon come. But 2G auction for 5 years continuously gave you as much as income tax, and yet you didn't abolish income tax. I said it on the very first day that 2G auction will, which was being earlier on being given as kind of prasad by Raja. Raja does give prasads anyway. So, but the 2G after the auction gave you as much as the income tax was giving. So you should have abolished income tax. You're getting it from here, and that would have cleaned up the whole system. So the problem basically is that many of the politicians feel a sense of power. If somebody comes running to you, please save me from income tax. But if you abolish income tax, nobody is going to come to you. So this is it. This is the real reason.
Next question is a good one, sir. Dr. Swamy, this is from P. Raghu. BJP is stating that UPS oil bonds are the reason for the hike in fuel prices. Are they lying or saying the truth? How can fuel prices be brought down?
You see, lying and truth are only two alternatives. There's a third alternative: you're ignorant. You want to bring down petrol prices? Remove what Chidambaram put and we are still using and not using it for the purpose which it was put. A tax for education, for the education budget is still there. If you take the crude oil from Arab countries, I'm not talking about the fuel within our that we produce in our own country. The Arab countries, it comes here and then it is put in a refinery and you produce petroleum, for example, and then the petroleum is put in a tanker and taken by road to the petrol pump. And there in the petrol pump owner collects a commission of 2%. You add all that, but not the taxes. All kinds of taxes are there, about 8-9 taxes. Remove the taxes, just that part. How much will it come to? 30 rupees. 30 rupees per liter. Today it is more than 100 rupees. All tax. So therefore, you want to reduce. This is the way to do it. Why are you doing this? Okay, there's a problem that if you make petrol cheap, then a lot of people will be buying cars and a lot of people will be traveling and so on. Well, then find some alternative. Hydrogen fuel cells. You can have cars running on hydrogen fuel cells. And that is now being resorted to. I think our friend Shri Iyer, he knows that I think he himself has a car which is what?
Yes, sir. Tesla. I have a Tesla, sir. Tesla. In fact, since the time you visited, I've got 2 more, sir. I have 3 Teslas now.
It doesn't use petrol at all.
Yeah, we produce our own solar energy on the roof, and then we use that to charge our car. So I'm kind of like I'm producing, I'm consuming. So I'm net zero in terms of overall thing. Please go ahead, sir.
Indians can do the same thing.
Yes.
But we are not doing it because nobody tells them. Because everybody is making a cut on all this. So he doesn't want, even if you can invent hydrogen fuel cell cars, even then our government will not do it because so much disinformation takes place that the government gets scared. So therefore, you tell me what this country sorely lacks is 10% of our politicians who have got a mission, who are in politics after giving up something. And they're there saying that I don't care if I become a minister, I don't become a minister. I keep on getting in Twitter people saying, why you're not a minister? I never cared to be a minister. I've been twice a minister already. And that time the Prime Minister had to come to me with folded hands to ask me to become minister. So why should I worry? What do I get out of being a minister unless I'm given a free hand? And so if I go and ask for a minister, then nobody will give me a free hand. They will expect me to stand before the Prime Minister's house and salute him every day. So that kind of thing should be there. After all, for me, I was a Harvard professor. I need not have come back. But he came back, and there are Indians, but they don't believe that if they come back to India, they will be respected. So we have to create an atmosphere where people feel okay. They come, then they are treated much better. People, my American friends, used to ask me why you left Harvard and went back. I said, listen, in India, I don't do my own laundry. I've got a dhobi. I don't clean my own house because I got somebody who comes and cleans that up. I don't drive my own car because I got a chauffeur. Oh, in America, I have to drive myself to the supermarket and buy the provision and bring it back, bring it home. My wife has to do the cooking. She has to do the cleaning of dishes, or I have to support her in that. I mean, what kind of life is that? My standard of living is much higher in India. I don't want to be living in America. So it's a question of perspective, no?
Sir, before we go to the next question, I just wanted to add one little nugget of information. Thomas Alva Edison, the man who gave us phonograph, electricity, and a whole bunch of other inventions. Now, there is a picture, sir, of Edison sleeping below a tree in his garden with his hand as a pillow. You know how we can sleep with your hand as a pillow? And sitting by the side, waiting for him to wake up, was the President of United States, Howard Taft. This picture is there. If you go and look at it, you'll find this picture. My point here, sir, is he used to take 20-minute breaks, I believe. 20 minutes sleep, and then he'll get up and work. And he worked insane number of hours. But the thing was that the president understood that he needs to get his sleep. That is the respect you had for intellect. And you know, for you, why I thought of mentioning this is, you know, if you were in any form, way, or shape, if you had helped out the US government, that is the respect you would get here. That is, I'm not exaggerating at all, sir. I mean, there are people who are questionable, you know, philosophies, they still get a lot of respect.
Yeah, Amartya Sen. So the new guy, this new Banerjee or something from MIT.
Yes, Abhijit Banerjee. Right.
That's true. But India's ancient tradition is to respect intellect. And nobody was a Brahmin because he was born a Brahmin. That is a bogus concept. Lord Krishna has made it absolutely clear in Gita that your gunas are the ones that will determine. So if you are a Jnani and a Tyagi and a Sahasi, that is a courageous person, then you are a Brahmin. So this Jnana, Tyag, and Sahas, these are the qualities that make a Brahmin, and it could be anybody. Vishwamitra was born in a Kshatriya family, but he became the Rishi of Rishis. Kalidasa was a Vanvasi, who was cutting branches of trees. Vedavyasa his mother was a fisherwoman. I mean, I don't know where all these cockeyed ideas have suddenly gone into our mind that a Brahmin is born. A Brahmin is not born, nor is a Kshatriya born. These are all your own, it's your choice. And each has a certain status.
And to add to your point, sir, it was Vishwamitra who gave us the Gayatri Mahamantra, Om Bhur Bhuva Savaha Tatsaviduvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prajotyat. Thanks for reminding me of that, sir. Siddharth has the next question. What is your take on asset monetization and national infrastructure project?
We are in a depression. How can you have asset monetization at a time like this? You'll get dead prices. What are you doing on Air India? Air India is the same thing. You're going to sell it for dirt because the economy is in that kind of situation. This is not the time for asset monetization. And this asset monetization is all nonsense. They say, no, this is on lease. What do you mean by lease? You're not going to have any control over it. By the time they return it back to you, it will be already a dud. And probably, by the depreciation, it would have been now valued zero. So, therefore, I am totally against it. It's like selling the family silver. And national infrastructure project, well, that's a good idea, but where are you doing it? That poor Gadkari is not getting his projects cleared by the cabinet, or rather the Prime Minister's office. So, therefore, All these things are, it's like this GST. I was totally opposed to it. Now, slowly, everyone is agreeing with me. But at that time, everybody, I was the only one who, by the way, it was nearly 100% vote in favor. The Congress, it was a Congress project which Modi had objected when he was chief minister. He wrote a letter saying that I'll never implement it in Gujarat. And then he did a somersault after he became prime minister. And now it's a disaster. It's the amount of paperwork you have to do. So these are all these sloganeering. You just solve your demand problem today. Give everybody money. If any this part-time worker comes in, who's been walking down the streets every time there's a corona outburst, poor chap, give him the money, give him cash. He's not going to store it. He's not going to gamble it. He's got a family to look after. He'll go and buy some good food, and he will go to buy some better clothes. So that will generate demand. That will generate growth. So I'm totally against it. And all this is just for, I think somebody wants to get hold of these assets, and so he put this idea. I wouldn't be surprised if it is this guy. What's his name?
Adani.
Adani. So Adani's bought all the airports today.
Guy, there's a question. Rohit, your question is on Dr. Jaishankar. I think it is not in the topic, but I'll still let Dr. Swamy decide if he wants to answer the question or not. So he wants to know your opinion of Dr. S. Jaishankar.
He's a nice guy. I know his father. I knew his father, and I knew him as a diplomat. And I went to China. He was the ambassador. He's educated, but yeah, he's not a politician. I don't think he can stand up to the prime minister and tell him this can't be done. He's doing all kinds of stupid things, going and sitting in the United States. He went to the United States to meet the Secretary of State. When he arrived for his appointment, he was told the Secretary of State has gone to Germany, and he'll be back after 5 days. So he waited 5 days. Now this shows lack of political savvy. Same thing with China. I mean, the way he crawls before China, I don't blame him. People expect him to produce results, and so he is willing to do all this. So I would say, poor chap, should never have been made a minister.
That's a very candid answer, sir. Thank you, sir. Because it's out of topic here. Mumbaikan wants to know, will the FSI, Floor Space Index, I think, scam in construction industry stop ever?
Yeah.
Will the corporation and developer stop exploiting land/ecology and choking the cities?
Yeah. Well, these are all ways of making money. FSI. I know you should probably call Jagdish Shetty and explain, because he's an expert on land development.
Yes. Absolutely. We'll have him.
Yeah, FSI. All this, there's this stamp paper for registering deals in. Total corruption in that. So Telgi's, you know how Telgi made money by producing bogus stamped papers. So simplify. The name of the game of economics today is simplify. And you will get more money that way, because once the economy starts moving, you'll get more money.
Next question from Apurva Sharma. Sir, what stops the PM from listening to your sane advice? Why don't RSS push government to listen to you? Is everybody dumb or afraid of you?
You see, PM has a personality of his own. And in that personality, I don't fit in, because I have dealt with prime ministers like Chandrasekhar, Rajiv Gandhi, Narasimha Rao. I told them on their face, this can't be done. And they have respected me in agreeing. I was minister of Mr. Chandrasekhar. I was minister when Rajiv Gandhi was supporting our government. I was a minister in Narasimha Rao's government. And it was always my opinions were sought, and I gave my opinions. And even on other matters, for instance, if you go to see the white paper produced by the government on Ram Janmabhoomi, you'll see that Narasimha Rao has written me a letter thanking me for guiding him on the path to go on this matter of the Ram Janmabhoomi and the building of Ram Temple. So that was this. But in the case of Modi, he suffers from what they call as hubris. He thinks there's a certain way you have to behave with him, and I don't fit in that because I've known him for a very long time. I've known him since 1972, and I can't be in awe of him. Tell him, for instance, I upset him by saying that he doesn't know any economics. He says that he'll double GDP to $5 trillion in 5 years. That means 14.8% per year. You can't even produce 4.8% per year growth rate. How are you going to do 14.5? They all got angry with me. All the others are all saying, oh yeah, $5 trillion economy, $5 trillion economy. You see? So that is my problem with Modi. And I'm sure that is his problem with me also, that I am not sufficiently respectful of the chair of the Prime Minister. I don't want to be a minister. The other people hanker of wanting to be minister. I was minister twice. I can be minister if it goes by talent, but it has to be on my terms. I'm sorry to say that's my way of my makeup.
So one has to wonder if Dr. Swamy is the Ashwin of the Indian politics, or if Ravichandran Ashwin is the Dr. Swamy of Indian cricket. We will let the viewers decide what is going on there. Next question from Rohan. Next question from Rohan Shil. How to overcome corruption in state police / civil service and take them out of government control?
By educating everybody with a minimum of law. Once you know the law, no policeman can do anything to you. It's basically the policeman. He makes an assessment of you. He thinks that you're one of these innocent middle class types. And then it will be as rude as possible. You see. So learn law, and you'll see that policemen will deliver whatever you want.
In fact, there were some episodes in Gyan Ganga. We were talking about law, legal rights. You are the legal rights. What are legal rights you have, and so on. So there's a huge library of content on VHS India website. By the way, this particular conversation is also being relayed on the VHS YouTube channel also. So people can get there also. So it's just another way that we are trying to reach out to you guys. Mohan, can you go back to the Mohan question, please? Previous question. Sir, can't the government encourage formation of Gurukulams? Sir, I have an answer for this, but please go ahead, sir.
You see, Gurukulam's essential concept is that there's a guru who you have personal relations with. Sometimes the guru may have 5. Now there are Gurukulams in not being known as Gurukulams. So, for instance, law chambers. The new law recruits come there, and then they are personally guided by the senior lawyer, and so on. That system has to come into schools and colleges, because the teacher, all he does is come there, he writes on the board, and everybody takes the notes, goes and then mugs it up for the exam, and that's over. A teacher must inspire. And teacher can only inspire if teaching is a desired profession. Today, it's not a desired profession. If you can't get anything else, you become a teacher. So the teacher should be elevated to a status. That's why the Brahmins had, not born Brahmins, the genuine Brahmins, they had the status. They were poor in the relative terms, but the society respected them. Even the king used to go and bow before him. So that respect for knowledge comes in automatically. The Gurukul system will automatically develop. In America, I know that professors, I know Sri Guru also would know, professors treat you as a product to be developed. The moment they find you've got some ability.
Yes, sir. I think there is also a new idea that the government has floated called Vedic universities. I think they're just renaming the concept as Gurukulams. You need to do a little bit more research. I think that might be possible today. So that, I hope, answers your question. Next question from Tiger Sharma. Sir, I'm trying to run through the questions because we are about
running out of time,
20.
I think.
Yeah, just couple questions and we'll wrap it up. Tiger Sharma wants to know, I love, respect and salute Dr. Swamy. I wish I had a guru like Swamiji. Sir, can Taliban come to POK and do India need to be worried?
No, if you should be worried if Taliban can come to India. Taliban is presently having some problems with Pakistan because Pakistan thinks that they are responsible for the Taliban coming back. And so you are seeing there's a developing conflict between Taliban, but we don't get anything out of it because they're all Islamic jihadi types. And so, and on top of that, you got the Chinese also into the picture. So China, Taliban, Pakistan. And in the Taliban, there are, there's Jaish-e-Mohammed, there's ISIS, and so many other things also in it. And Haqqani group, they are as extremist as possible. Now they're going to be, I think Haqqani man is going to be the home minister of this so-called government of Taliban in Afghanistan. So I think one worry is that we have a Muslim population who are by and large patriotic, but there are elements in it who have been infiltrated over the years, which are having links with these groups. And so the whole community then becomes under doubt. So I'm very happy with Mohan Bhagwat saying that Muslims and Hindus are from the same DNA, which is correct also. We say to Muslims that as far as the religious part is concerned, you have no problem. The problem comes with the political part. The political part is in Sirah and Hadith, where they prescribe all kinds of things that a Muslim must do, which is totally not in keeping with the civilized world. So that is the one that is driving them. The Taliban comes from that. Sirah and Hadith is not the Quran, but the Sirah and the Hadith, which guides them. And so is the ISIS. I mean, the kind of brutality they put on women is unbelievable. And we saw that in Iraq when the ISIS had captured parts of the territories, and especially with there was one religious group which had very a strong resemblance to Hinduism.
Yes.
I forget their name. I mean, they brutalized them so much. I used to feel very upset that India can't do anything about it.
Right.
So that is the thing. You see, the Taliban, yes, it's a problem, but not because it'll come to India. Even if it doesn't come to India, it's a menace because they'll send people to India if they don't come themselves.
The last question, sir. Apurva Sharma wants to know, sir, how do you deal with the frustration of your rare talent not being used for India's progress? How do you sustain your enthusiasm?
I read Gita, and what Krishna says is, you have only freedom to try. You have freedom of action. But the results are mine. I will decide. So I blame Krishna. I don't blame anybody else. I don't get frustrated. Krishna, you're hopeless. You're not giving me anything. Read Gita, you'll never be disappointed.
Sachin, last question from Sachin Sharma. $1 billion question. What happened to the black money SIT that was formed by the government as soon as he came to power?
Nothing. I told in the very beginning, those two retired Supreme Court judges are sitting in Ashoka Hotel, not knowing what to do. Nothing is being put to them. They have to be sent files. No, they can't. They don't have any investigating capacity. They don't have any IB or thing assigned to them. They have to wait for files to come from the finance ministry and then they have to act on it. But they're not even getting files. They're so having a good nap.
Sir, thank you. Wonderful, discussion on various topics. I don't know how an hour and a half just flew by, and thank you once again, sir. And we look forward to seeing you again in a fortnight from now, 2 Tuesdays from now. Namaskar, and thanks for watching.
Thanks.